This is the Nightwolf howling at you, and today we're going to jump onto the space bridge so we can take a look at the Transformers Legacy United Beast Wars Universe Silverbolt figure. Silverbolt here is one of the Fuzors from the Beast Wars era, where he is a combination of wolf and eagle. Also, probably my favorite character in the Beast Wars cartoon series, with Rat Trap and Black Arachnia being a close second. On the front, we see him in his beast mode. Although, I'm kind of surprised to see the mechanical details here, because part of the thing with Beast Wars was, of course, that you didn't see any mechanical parts when they were in their animal mode. On the side, we see him in robot mode, a close up of his face, and he's holding his two weapons, which are, I guess we could call them feather daggers or feather swords if we wanted. On the back, we get some product shots, which I don't know if these are actual photographs or just digital renders. This is a figure, though, that I have been looking forward to them making. And on the side, we do have a image of half the poster for the series, where we see a bunch of different Transformers, some of them core class, some of them Voyager, Leader, and the, I believe Magnaboss is what this combo is supposed to be. I kind of miss the days when they had the little collector card with these things. Alrighty, so Silverbolt comes to us in his robot mode to start with. Looking pretty slick. Robot mode is definitely the highlight of this figure. I like the head sculpt. It looks really nice. Well done. We got some good detail there on the kind of wolf muzzle that they gave him. The legs, of course, have more of that eagle detailing for the feet and claws. It's a little too bad, though, that they don't actually close up here. And we do have the hinge for articulation purposes, but it would have been nice if they'd found a way to actually make the close itself. And of course, put his weapons in his hands like so. Sadly, in the case of the feathers here, Hasbro got cheap on the one side and decided to have hollow bits on the inside there, instead of having it be solid like that. I mean, come on. What would that have cost? Like an extra 0.03 cents or whatever in the construction of this? As far as that goes, we do have hollow gaps in the legs and inside the forearms. The thighs themselves, however, are pretty solid, as are the calves until you get to just the inner side there, where we again hollow spots. I really am kind of curious as to how much money they save doing this kind of crap. And just for comparison's sake, before we get into articulation, I do actually have the original Silverbolt from the Beast Wars era. Overall, the look here is very nicely done. Our original Silverbolt could not have his wings set on his back like that, although this is kind of how they showed him most of the time in the cartoon. His wings could only go up or sideways like this. And sadly, it does look like the plastic on him is yellowing a bit, but not as much as you would expect. He also could store his weapons in his arms, and his wings there. And first off, you could pull on his tail to bring them forward. And I think if he was in his wolf dog mode, or his wolf dog mode, his wolf eagle mode, I think that actually triggered that too when you did that. Unfortunately, I couldn't find his actual equipment. Apparently, I stored that in a different spot. But, we got some feather detailing here and back here, which again, we have a lot of gapping in the wings, which is again unfortunate. But at least on this end part, they did not go cheaply like they did with the rest. So we can have his wings down, or we can have them out if we wanted. Articulation wise, he might be on a ball joint, but there isn't much you can do for moving the head up and down. You basically just have a little bit of a twist around, but he does go all the way around. And his eyes do appear to go just above his shoulders, so he's not blocking his own view. The arm has a hinge to go up and down, and we can spin. There is a bicep swivel, and this part of the leg here, because this is actually like the front shoulder part, is designed so that it can move with the swivel, so that doesn't get in the way. We have, most likely for transformation purposes, a double jointed elbow. Well, yeah, for transformation. So he's got that. Unfortunately, we still have the wolf leg is kind of there anyway. But that was the same issue with the original one. We do have a waist swivel where we can do a 360. Of course, you have to have the tail feathers up out of the way to get that to work. Otherwise, you'd crash into it. We do have a thigh cut, so we can spin it around. And we have a single joint at the knee. But we do get quite a bit of range out of it. And I think that has more to do, though, again, with transformation purposes than anything else. We can, of course, angle the foot in and out on kind of a ratcheted hood. Or I should say, it's not technically a ratchet joint, but it does feel like it's designed kind of like one. And as mentioned before, we can hinge the foot down. The wings, of course, can be forward and back, depending upon your preference for view. And we can move the top part of the wing up and down like this again, for your preference on how to view him. We also have a swivel at the fist. Now, let's see if we can transform him without actually looking at the instructions. All right, so we can pull the shoulder, the back, and we'll get the wings kind of out of the way. And we can bring the wolf head up, which would clear this space to put the robot head down there. We can twist around his head. That gives us access to his front legs, which now that brings in our thigh swivel. So we can bring that forward. We will position our feet like this, which puts that ugly ass gap right there. Again, this would be a reason not to have that gap. So now we've got this part here, which we will pull forward and out like here, like so. So we've unclipped the shoulder part and the waist part. This is actually fairly similar to the original toy transformation, which I'll go ahead and I'll do that too. So we can go ahead and combine these two together. There is a double set of tabs, and they crunch together quite well. This allows us to put the fist back all the way there with the double joint, or the upper arm, and the forearm. So we have that like that. We will bring the wolf head down. We have a couple slots here and a couple tabs here on the bottom of the face, the wolf head. We also have a peg and a peg, a hole and a hole. So we need to try to get those two in place before we get the head down like so. Now the wings we can just lower down like so. And we can bring the tail feathers down. Now, this part used to be the loincloth, which we'll just flip that forward like that. So here I think I run into some issues with this. Well, wait a minute, hold on. Before I get that far, there are a couple slots here and a couple of tabs here, so the legs are actually made specifically to peg into those. Which, remember before when we could move the leg forward, it does kind of stay in place there. So this gives us the back end of the wolf, bird, and the front end. From the front, he looks okay. I'm not going to lie. That looks fine. And his weapons here, we have a slot there and we have a tab here. So we can add these to the wings, just to give us a little bit more wingspan and storage place for that. That being said, not the greatest. We do have a hinge at the mouth so he can open his mouth and howl. So there are some issues I have with this design though. So first off, we can go ahead and put his wings up a little bit like this, kind of gliding mode. I don't like where the tail feathers sit in this beast mode here. I think this needs to be further back, or this needs to somehow be forward more. It looks short. The back end of this is awful. Just terrible. Front end, not so bad. Although, again, I think the fact that they did not fill these gaps in here and that's viewable so much from the side of the beast mode, is a definite flaw, and I think a really cheap looking change. And I don't know if there would have been a better way to do this gap here. If they could have had something that would have been part of that to fill it in, or maybe that's just too small to do that with. But that doesn't look so good either. Also, his joints are kind of loose on my copy. But now, if you watch the show, you saw his wings could go forward and he'd launch his missiles. You can kind of replicate that with this design with the wings. And honestly, the wolf head sculpt's not too bad. Although, he looks more like... I kind of feel like it's more of a dog head than a wolf head. I don't know why I specifically seem to be thinking that, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. Articulation wise, in beast mode for our Voyager class, with his legs pinned in place, we can still rotate at the shoulder or the elbow / knee. We still have the hinge here that allows us to go back and forth, and the hinge here for up and down. Problem being, of course, with his shoulders pegged into place, you don't have much of an option with where to put his legs. As mentioned before, the jaw is articulated. The wings still can hinge up here. We can also hinge them from the shoulder. Once more, this hinge is actually very loose on mine, unfortunately. And it's not pinned in place, so I imagine it's going to pop off a lot. At least they pin the ones on the shoulder there, but those are holding on better too. We have the additional articulation of the wing to go up and down like that, so once more, we could have them fly like this. I guess we could technically unhinge that, and this would show him like diving down to grab something. Whoosh! His legs, of course, can still spin around like this, although we will kick our wing with the foot like that unless we pull that forward more. The thing is, if we're being fair with most of the Beast Transformers for the Legacy lines, they're not designed to be particularly posable in Beast mode. And that's kind of a shame. So, a lot of times on my favorite Transformer figures, I will buy 2 of them to display in both their robot mode and their alt mode. And I did that with Black Arachnia, his quote girlfriend. But I don't see myself doing that with Silverbolt here because I really don't like his beast mode that much. They did not do a particularly good job updating that aspect of him. Maybe if they'd made the tail feathers longer so that they went out past his butt, that would have been a better thing. And again, this face sculpt is terrible, and they really needed to at least put in the teeth and fangs like they did in the Beast Wars era toy. I would expect that we will see a repaint of him, however, because there is, in fact, an exclusive from BotCon many years ago that is a white version of him. I just don't remember what the name of the character was. Oddly enough, the character does show up in the Beast Wars video game for the, I think, Nintendo 64 cartridge. So anyway, I think if you want to have this guy to display in robot mode, he's a good choice for that. As far as the beast mode goes, though, I think they should have gone back to the drawing board a little bit and just made it better. At the very least, they should have given us a better face sculpt for the wolf, because that's just depressing. Now, I did say we do have, again, the original version, which let's go ahead and transform him real quick. In his case, you pull down the front and you rotate the head into place there and move that forward again. We will split the legs apart. Well, you have to lift this forward first before you split the legs apart because there are 2 tabs that go into there. And that gives us the wolf head. Remember when I said that the legs kind of transformed the same? We'll see that in a moment. We want to pull this down though, this little flap here. And we pull this back a little bit, and pull that out a little bit. So we have this here. This is what I was talking about where it kind of had a similar design over there. Truthfully, the transformation's not that much different. But now we can bring these together, peg that in, and he's got a butthole. Which I will put that as the one design flaw of this toy. Is that he literally has a butthole. In this case now, we have the front legs, which can be pulled up and pulled up like that. And kind of like with the other one, though, we can go ahead and bring the legs back. And in this case, his claws are in fact articulated. So we have both the hinge here, which we had there, but they also close a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. But that's also part for the transformation. Because having it all the way out is generally kind of for the stance. And if we put them together like so, that looks more like the claws for the eagle mode. So, once more, when we look at the original Silverbolt, this definitely feels more wolf-like to me. You also get to see the teeth quite clearly. Here, we don't really see the teeth at all. And the shape of the snout looks, to me, it looks more like a German Shepherd than it does a wolf. And it's all fuzzy here. It's like they tried to add feathering design to the face, the wolf head, as well as the fur. And I think that's actually kind of a failure. In all truth, as far as our beast modes go, the winner of the beast mode is the Beast Wars version. 100% better. And like I mentioned before, if I had the guns, when you pull this forward, I think these two things, they get knocked ahead on his shoulders, and that would actually launch the missiles from his wings. So that being said, he's got the better robot mode, but he's got the better beast mode. And I think they could have done a better job on this beast mode, and especially on that wolf head sculpt. So anyway, please let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe. Peace and love.